everyone, welcome to Watercolor the Art Impressions Way. This is a back to basics. So this video is going to walk you through how to stamp the very basics of this technique. This is how every project starts, is with the flowers and the foliage. This is the basic flower set, this is the basic foliage set, and each of these have multiple images that come with it, and each of these have a purpose. So it's really important that you learn to stamp these the correct way. So I'm kind of going back to the basics, and I'm going to start with this video so that I can walk you through each one of these images. Okay, so I'm actually using the these mounted on blocks just so that it's easier for me to pick them up, but we do have clear blocks available, so you can use them on the acrylic block. These all come unmounted, so you just peel the little paper backing off and they will adhere to a clear acrylic block. Okay, so let's start with the flower set. And I'm just going to move it over here so that you can see. I'm going to walk through all of these individually so that you can see exactly how to use them. In this set, you have two flowers that are fillers. These are filler flowers. These fill in all the white areas. These two are long stems, so these are for background. And then these two are more of an accent. So let's start with one of the fillers. This little guy is really, these are all actually really easy to use. So, but the key to this is that they're all stamped in a repeat. So what that means is that you want to count at least 5 times. So you want to ink it one time, ink it with your marker, and then you want to stamp it 5 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's really important to go from that dark color to the bright light in the background. And what happens when you add water to this now is that the dark comes forward and the light fades back. And that's what we need to get this watercolor look. So let's go on to the next one, and then we'll add water to it later. This is the little daisy set. So we're going to ink this one. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to stamp it in a repeat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to stamp it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're actually just walking it in a circle. Let's do that one more time. I want to make sure that you get this. If you try to stamp that into your image and you just try to stamp it like this multiple times, it's too uniform in shape and the lines are too harsh. So we're trying to get the idea of the flowers. That's why we want to walk it in a circle. So again, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times in a circle. You can do a few and get a smaller bloom, but you still want to walk it in a circle. And you're actually just press. So you're not really stamping it, you're not pushing down on it really harsh. You're just pressing. So let's ink it again. And my hand actually is not even leaving the table. I'm just doing press around in a circle. Okay? Let's go on to the next one. Let's pick a different color. This is one of the long stems. This one too works on a repeat. So these are all made to stamp over and over. So ink once and stamp a bunch. So I'm inking the blooms, and then I'm inking the stem. So I have this all inked, and I want to stamp it again in a sequence of 5. So 1, to the right 2, up above 3, 4, 5. And now I have the dark to light in the background. So the dark will come forward, the light will fade back. Let's do it again with this one. We're going to ink the bloom, and then we're going to ink the stem. So again, start in the middle, 1, to the right 2, above, and over to the side. And now we have this contrast from dark to light. It's so important for you to stamp them this way. This is how you get that watercolor look. When you go to add water, this will automatically turn into a little watercolor painting because you already have this contrast in here. Okay, let's go on to the next ones. This is the little dots. This is never made to stamp as a whole. This is too uniform in shape. If you try to fit this anywhere, even on the ground as pebbles, it's too uniform in shape. So what we want to do is we want to ink the end, and we want to walk it in a circle. at least 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or you can stamp the end and you can walk it in a line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now you have little wildflowers that can grow over the top of the grass. We're going to put all this together so that I can show you how they all work together within the container. Okay, let's just pick a different color here. And we'll do this little one. This is a little foxglove. And we're going to ink it. And this one actually walks up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See how that works? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can make that as short or as tall as you want. So now when we add the water, it's so easy to do that because this is already going to just come to life. See how the water activates the color? It just brightens all this up. The light fades back to the background and the dark comes forward. And you have this watercolor image. See how dark this one is in the front? This is the very first one that I stamped. And as we go back, they get lighter and lighter. You don't have to get all of these lines. That's up to you. You can take your time because these things dry right away. So you don't have to rush to do anything. As soon as you hit it with the water, it's going to activate the color. And see, I stamped this several minutes ago, but I can come back with the water and it's going to work just fine. And you want to just dab at these images. There's no circular motion or brush stroke with these. You're just dabbing. And when I dip my brush, I pinch it off. And see how flat it is? I don't know if you can see that on the camera. It's pretty flat. So drier is better. It's better that your brush is a little dry and you add more water to it than to have it too wet. If you don't pinch your brush off, let me just show you what happens. You don't pinch your brush off and you just go in a circular motion. See what happens? Everything will disappear. But this is really the only way that you can make a mistake. And once you learn that, you think you know that's too much water, so let's go back to just a drier brush. And you're just touching all these little images and you're going to get this watercolor look automatically. The more you blend, the softer it gets. The same with these little ones. These don't need a lot of water because they're very tiny. Okay, we're good on that one. Let's go on to the foliage. And I'm going to show you how to stamp these. Okay, here's the basic foliage set. These are also made to stamp in a repeat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's so important that you do it that way. Let's start out with this little vine. By the way, this little vine has a bend in it. And the reason it has a bend is that we have a lot of projects that have columns. And those columns, this is made to walk up the column. So when you go to stamp it, you stamp it like this and it bends around the column. But when we use it with a container, we really only need to ink the straight side. So let's just do that. I'm just going to ink the straight part of this. And what I want to do is I want to walk it in a sequence of 5 again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you can get 6, that's even better. And see the contrast from light to dark. That's so important that you do that. Let's do it one more time. I want to make sure that you get this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or 6 if you can. Okay, let's go on to the next one. This is a broader leaf. This works the same way. And again, a sequence of 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See the dark in the front and the light in the background. This one too. This is a basic foliage for the containers. This is the simplest one to use. And it also goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that fits right over the top of a container. The little grasses also are made to stamp in a sequence of 5. So we never want to do this. That's impossible to blend. And what happens when you stamp like that is that when you add water to this, you're going to get a nice green background with a definite image of the stamp, and that's what we're trying to avoid. So with these, we want to walk them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row. Now you can go either direction. You can go to the left or to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can go up or you can go down. You can go any direction, and see how much more natural this looks than this. Same with the small grass. We ink it and walk it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and this one, this is for the backgrounds, and this is on several videos that are on the website. This works with a green background, and so you want to ink the end, but you also want to stamp this in a repeat, so sort of in a circle and around like this. Everything is made to walk like this in a sequence of 5 at least when you go to do these. So let's put it all together. Let's do a simple basic container, and let's stamp these flowers and foliages. So let me get these set back up here so you can see which ones I'm using. These are so versatile, and the way these work is that these are kind of the staples. These are the stamps that would be repeated over and over in each of the sets. So whenever we come out with a new set, we're going to come back to these. We're going to come back to the grasses, to the vines, to the filler flowers over and over. And then when we come out with a new set, you're going to get new images, but we're still going to come back to these over and over, or they would be duplicated many times in each of the sets. So let's start with a basic container. This is the little pail. And I'm just going to ink it. This is number 86 Violet, and because the pail is shiny, I'm going to use this color. This is a kind of a violet blue. So I'm going to stamp it on there like that. Take my brush and water, and I'm going to just start by pulling the color out of the lines. Just drag your brush down. Pinch it off because you don't want to have too much water in here. Put a little shadow under there like that. And you can drag this color over a little bit, but you want to make sure to keep the center of this container open. The reason we do that is because we want the container to look rounded, and the minute we color it in solid, it's going to be flat. So we don't want to do that at all. We want to keep the color concentrated on the sides. See how that changed that already? Already looks three-dimensional. Take your fine tip, and where you can really darken it in, do that. See in the back here where this handle comes around, this in here where the little latch is, these in these corners would be really dark. That's going to give you a lot more contrast because, again, it's about going from dark to light. That's how we get that watercolor look. Okay? The next step then is to pull the color to the outside. So we've kind of dragged this color to the inside. Now we're going to take the same color and pull it outside. This is all still just the color from the original image when I've stamped it in that blue. So I'm going to drag this out, and now I'm going to get a bit of a contrast in the background. And we're building this image. We're going for a watercolor look. We don't want this to look like it's stamped. And I think that's one of the funnest things about these projects is that they don't look like they're stamped. Nobody would ever know it was stamped. It looks like you painted it. Okay, so let's go on to the foliage. You can start with foliage or flowers. It doesn't really matter. But let's just start with the vine. So remember how we're going to ink this? We're going to ink the top, just the straight part, and we want to stamp it in a sequence of 5. So I'm inking it. This is a 72 pine green, one of my favorites. And we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's ink it again. And we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to dip my brush in water, and I'm just going to soften all these lines. You're actually just touching all these little leaves. So you're not making any brush strokes. You're just kind of dabbing at the image. So it doesn't take a lot of water. People ask me all the time about a water brush, and they're just too wet. That's why I use a brush, and that's why I pinch it off, because it really doesn't take a lot. These are tiny little lines, and we don't want to erase them. We just want to soften them. So you can blend all this color together. The more you blend, the softer it gets. And see, it's not as important that you stamp it in the correct place as it is that you stamp it over and over. That's way more important in order to get this watercolor look. See, I don't even have this into the container really, but it's not gonna matter at all. And you can take your time because this dries so quickly that it's not like you have to do anything before the image dries. You can take your time. Because as soon as you touch it with the water, it's going to activate the color. Okay, let's go on to the next thing. So let's pick one of our filler flowers, like this one. And let's ink it. And I'm going to start in the middle. And I remember we want to walk this in a circle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I want to put a few small blooms. So I'm just going to ink a few. And I'm going to go in a circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again. We can change colors, add a different color. And you don't have to add water until you're finished stamping these. In a sequence of 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again. And see how quickly that dries? Dry already. So let's add the water to it. And we're just going to touch all these little lines. See how the dark comes forward? And we're creating the idea of the flowers. We don't want the harsh lines of the flowers. We just want the idea of it. Watercolor is so subtle and very abstract. So when you touch all these lines, if you've stamped it in a repeat like that, this is going to automatically work. It's so stress-free. It really is. This is the easiest way to watercolor with the least amount of stress. And watercolor is not easy. It really isn't. So I'm just kind of dabbing, I'm just jumping my brush around and just kind of dabbing at all these little lines. I just love how this all comes together. You don't have to clean your brush. You can go right into the purple, which I love. I'm terrible at cleaning my stamps anyway, so I love it when I don't have to do that. And just blend. See how this all blends together? You automatically have the dark and the light just by stamping it in a repeat like that. And the more you blend, like I said, the softer it gets. You can dip your brush, pinch it off, and you can blend out all the white areas if you'd like. You will kind of develop your own style after a while. Even though you're using stamps, every time you stamp this, it's going to be different. Okay, so let's go on to the long stem. So we've got these long stems that go in the background. So let's pick up one of these, the lilies. And let's ink the bloom. And let's ink the stem. And again, remember to stamp it in a repeat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we add the water. And see how that activates the color? Perfect. You don't have to get every one of these little lines. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. And you know, when the water hits it, it sort of changes the shape of it anyway. So you'd never know that it was stamped. I just love that about it. It's my favorite part. And the fact that you can do them in 5 minutes, and the fact that they don't take a lot of markers or stamps. Okay, let's go on to the next one. So let's use the other long stem. We've got space here. So let's use this one. Let's pick a different color. And ink this one. So I'm inking the bloom and the stem. And I'm going to go in a sequence of 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to add water. And when you're doing these denser images, you want to remember that you're just softening the lines. So where you see the lines, that's where your brush goes. So you don't want to go in a big brush stroke like this and make this all uniform. You want to just look at where the lines are, and that's where you go with your brush. And you're just touching. You're just dabbing, you're just touching it. Very light-handed. Okay, and see where there's some open areas now? We can fill in. So you can take your, we can take the little vine again, this one, and we can just ink the top, and we can fill in where we need a little extra. So 1, 2, 3, maybe 1, 2, 3. We can do an accent, or we just stamp it one time. And then we sort of fill in all these little areas. And then add water. It's just stamp and add water. That's all it is. It's the easiest thing. And if you already know how to flower arrange, well, you've already got an edge. All I know is that there's tall things in the back and short things in the front. Okay, so far so good. Let's add some flowers now to the bottom. We can use the tall grass or the small grass, either one. Let's just ink the tall one. And remember, a sequence of 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See how natural that looks? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the only time that you actually use a brush stroke. And you want to take your brush and you want to drag the color up, just like this. Pull the color up. You're not confined to the size of the stamp. Don't be afraid to pull that color all the way up and out. See how natural that looks? And if you want to set this by some water, this is the easiest thing to do. So let me grab a palette here and I'll show you how to do that. Doing water is just adding a little patch of blue and surrounding it with grass. So I'm using the number 86 African Violet, and I'm just going to pick up a little bit of this color, just a little bit. So I want to mix it mostly with water. And in order to add water, all you need to do is keep your hand straight. Straight strokes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and just keep going until the blue runs out. The blue will run out and you're finished. Sometimes it's hard to know where things end, especially with watercolor when it's more abstract. But when you run out of blue, you're finished. Dries right away. So let's take the small grass now, and let's just add a little of this around the blue. We can go any direction with the grass, so we can move this pond any way we want it to go. And then we can pull this color up. Remember, with the grass, we use a stroke. You could drag some of this green into the water. That makes it look even more natural. We could pick up a little more of this color and make this darker here in the background. So easy. And so natural. Let's add one more thing. Let's add these tiny little dots. I just love this stamp. But remember, we don't want to use this as a whole, so we don't want to ink the whole thing. So let's just ink a few. And we're going to walk it in a line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we have little wildflowers that are growing up above the grass. Can you see that? So cute. So easy, and finished in just a few minutes. You can do this. You will love this technique. And one more thing, don't forget to sign. Sign and date, because every time you do this, it's going to be different. And people love that you've created it from scratch. They will think that you painted this image.